Hi everyone, welcome back to Investing Club. In this video we're going to be talking about gold stocks versus silver stocks and which one is actually more undervalued compared to the other one. And to be doing this we're going to be using something called the gold-silver ratio, which I think is a very important ratio to be looking at when buying into gold and silver mining stocks. So here's what the gold and silver ratio does. It shows how many ounces it takes to purchase 1 ounce of gold. So if the gold to silver ratio is 60, that means it would take 60 ounces of silver to buy 1 ounce of gold. And so what this ratio does is measures the relative strength of the price of gold versus the price of silver. And so here's a long-term chart of the gold to silver ratio, and it fluctuates, right? It goes up and down as the value of gold and silver change relative to each other. And the midpoint of the ratio is around 60. So historically it's taken around 60 ounces of silver to buy 1 ounce of gold. However, through history this changes. Most of the time gold and silver move in the same direction because they're considered very similar by most investors. So if gold's going up, there's a pretty good chance silver is going up as well. But what the gold to silver ratio takes into account is how much gold is moving compared to silver. So here's really how the gold to silver ratio works. When gold prices increase faster than silver prices, the ratio will increase. If silver prices increase faster than gold prices, the ratio will decrease. When gold prices decrease faster than silver prices, the ratio will decrease. And when silver prices decrease faster than gold prices, the ratio will decrease. So to sum that up, when the ratio is going higher, gold is outperforming silver, and when the ratio is going lower, silver is outperforming gold. So here is an extremely long-term chart of the gold to silver ratio, going back all the way to 1915. So this is over 100 years of information. And if you look at where we are right now, we're right at the upper range of where this ratio has been. You know, anything over 90 is considered extreme for this ratio. It's only happened a couple times in history, 1941. And from that point on, silver outperformed by a huge amount. And then again in 1991, again, the following decade, silver outperformed by a huge amount. So what we've seen over the past few months, if we shrink this graph down, is that since December 2019, this ratio has skyrocketed. Gold vastly outperformed silver in the period from around the end of 2019 to March and April of 2020. And since we've started to see this rally in gold and silver, the ratio has fallen. And so if you've been watching what's happening with gold and silver, they've both been going up. Silver has been skyrocketing a lot faster than the price of gold, hence why this ratio has gone down. So if you ask me where this ratio is going next, I think this ratio is going to continue to make its way down. We've seen throughout history, whenever we see these peaks of gold outperforming silver by a huge amount, it usually reverts back to the mean and even goes past it, where the following decade we see silver outperform gold. So that's really where I see this heading right now. I made a video on silver stocks back probably a couple months ago. I'll put a link up to it right now. And there I talked about the huge institutional demand for silver, where hedge funds have just been piling into silver even when the price was falling back in March. And so I think this demand for silver is here to stay, and it's only going to get larger. Now here are some factors that influence the gold to silver ratio. A fact about silver is that it's actually used a lot in the industrial sector. So unlike gold, which most people see as a store of value without really having any functional use, silver is actually an essential part of many industrial tools for electronics and industrials. And so if we see a continued recovery in the industrial sector, that could bode well for silver. Another big thing to watch is this trend of solar energy, where silver plays a big part in this because it's used for alloys and certain types of solar cells for solar energy. So if we continue to see that trend where more and more solar energy plants are being produced, that is a good sign for silver because there will be more of a demand for the metal. And the last thing is that silver mining output is highly inelastic because most companies that mine silver, they aren't mining specifically for the silver. Mining silver mainly comes as a byproduct of mining other metals. And so because of that, the supply of silver will be pretty stable, which is an important factor in the price of silver. When you take into account supply and demand, a stable amount of supply is a large deal to a lot of investors because when there's a flood of supply in the market, that's going to drive prices down. So knowing there's a stable supply is another good factor for silver. So if you're looking at investing into gold and silver or gold and silver mining stock, this is where I would start to look. This isn't financial advice, but if I was someone that was going to buy a gold or silver mining stock, I'd probably stick with the ETFs. I don't really think I know enough about how the mining industry works to be able to identify which silver miner or gold miner will outperform all the rest. So I would probably stick with an ETF like SIL, which is the Silver Miners Index, which has gone up over 140% since the lows we had back in August. And instead, if you wanted a gold miner ETF, I would look into the GDX, which is the gold miners ETF. Again, the price movement on these will be very similar. Gold and silver mainly move in the same direction, but based on the gold to silver ratio, I think there's more potential for silver to outperform as it has been in the past couple of months. So what am I doing right now? Well, I think it's a good idea for me to have at least some exposure to gold and silver for my portfolio. And I've found a company to invest in that would give me exposure to gold and silver, but it's not a gold miner or a silver miner. And I'm pretty excited for the potential of this company that would give me exposure exposure to both gold and silver without the risk of traditional mining companies. So if you want me to drop a video on what that stock is, like the video and let me know down in the comments, and I'll make a full analysis on this stock I am going to start investing into. So that's it for this video. Let me know your thoughts on gold and silver, and if you think they're going to keep outperforming over the next few years. I'm very curious to hear what you all have to think. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you on the next video.